what does the role of a trade compliance leader typically involve in today's environment?
Today, they have a responsibility for managing a lot. Import and export compliance crosses multiple regions, lots of different product lines, lots of different regulations. And so that's their role, is trying to wrangle all of that information, all of those laws, and try and put together a good, solid program. They're accountable for things like audit readiness and classification, licensing. There's so many different components of what a trade compliance leader is doing today. And I think particularly right now, in light of all these new tariffs that have been established by the Trump administration, there's an ever increasing responsibility to stay on top of those tariffs. And trade compliance leaders weren't really necessarily well known years ago. They were just somebody in the company. Now they're front and center. They're right there right with the C-suite, helping to devise strategy based off of these tariff programs and the new enforcement activities as well.
So what do you think are the biggest challenges trade compliance leaders are facing?
Definitely the constant regulatory changes. After all the years I've been in this industry, it's just been more dynamic now than it ever has been. I think it's also resource limitations. There is such a need to drive profit margins, and yet at the same time, the complexity is increasing. So trade compliance leaders are having to do more with less than they ever have in the past. And I would say just the balancing act of doing the daily operations and trying to maintain that compliance or reasonable care due diligence, it's a lot to take on. Having done that for many years in my career, there's just times where you're like, I know this is really important. I need to take care of this compliance activity, but I have a burning fire right now of a shipment that's stuck somewhere that ends up taking more of my time than I expected. So that balancing act is really challenging right now.
So what kind of support actually makes a meaningful difference in this role?
I think having targeted expertise is really helpful. So being able to know that you have a trusted partner that can help address issues where maybe you don't have that expertise. Trade compliance leaders, have varying experience and varying years in the business and varying, industries. So, the way you handle a high-tech company versus an automotive versus a chemical company versus a food company, they're all very different, and no one is expected to be the expert on everything. So being able to have someone that you can have a trusted partner you can go to and get that expertise when needed is very helpful. And also flexibility, I think, is really important to them now more than ever, is just being able to, adapt to the times and adapt to the changes within the organization becomes really important. So I think, being able to find a partner that can help them manage their role better and either support them when they need, operational support or expertise when they lack it is going to be the road to success.